Captain Ellen Gray's eyes widened as she stared at the main screen of the U.S. Defiant. The red dots appeared out of nowhere, one after another. 10, 50, 300. They kept coming until the count reached 1,000. "Are the sensors working right?" she asked, her voice steadied despite her racing heart. Lieutenant Joe Miller ran another scan of the tactical station. His fingers moved quickly across the control panel. "Yes, Captain. All systems are working perfectly. Those are 1,000 alien ships at the edge of our solar system." The bridge fell silent. 6 crew members looked at each other with the same thought. They were in trouble. Big trouble. "Sam, try to talk to them," Captain Gray ordered. Communications Officer Sam Wright nodded and sent out message after message. "This is the U.S. Defiant of Earth. We come in peace. Please identify yourselves." He tried different frequencies, different formats, even basic mathematical sequences. After several minutes, he got something back. "Captain, they're responding." "But," Sam frowned at his screen. "It's not making sense. The computer can't translate it." Gray walked over to his station and looked at the strange symbols flowing across the screen. "Keep trying, Sam. They must understand we want to talk." Chief Engineer Kate Murphy entered the bridge, her uniform showing spots of oil. "Captain, I heard about the alien ships. The engine room is ready for anything you need." "Good. We might need to move fast," Gray said. "How's our new shield system?" "It's at 100%, but it's never faced real combat." "It's still experimental," Murphy answered honestly. Lieutenant Miller cleared his throat. "Captain, the alien ships are moving. They're forming a pattern around us. They could attack from all directions." "Defense stations," Gray ordered. The alarm sounded throughout the ship, and crew members ran to their positions. "Sam, keep trying to talk to them." The minutes passed slowly. The tension on the bridge grew with each moment. Then Sam's station peeped. "Captain, I've got something." The computer translated part of their message. Everyone turned to him. "They call themselves the XR Keth. I think they're asking why we're here." Gray straightened her uniform. "Tell them this is our home system. We live here. Ask about their intentions." Sam sent the message. The response came back faster this time. "They say," Sam's face paled, "they say we occupy territory they want. They've come to take it." Miller's tactical station suddenly flashed red. "Captain, they're powering up weapons." "Shields up," Gray ordered. "Prepare defensive positions." The Defiant hummed as its shields activated. It was 1 ship against 1,000. The odds were impossible. "Murphy, I need everything you can give me from the engines," Gray said. "You'll have it, Captain," Murphy promised, already heading back to the engine room. Gray sat in her command chair, her mind racing through options. The Defiant was Earth's newest ship with technology no one had tested in real battle. Would it be enough? "Captain," Miller said softly, "Earth is 3 weeks away from sending any help. We're all alone out here." Gray nodded. "I know, but we're not running. This is our home." The first alien shots hit the Defiant's shields. The ship shook slightly. "Shields holding at 95%, Miller reported. Gray looked at each crew member on the bridge. She saw fear in their eyes, but also determination. They were humans, and humans didn't give up easily. "We may be outnumbered," she told them, "but we're not outmatched. Not yet. Let's show these HFY Keth what one human ship can do." The Defiant turned to face the alien armada head-on. 1 ship against 1,000. The battle for Earth's survival had begun. The Defiant shook again as another wave of alien fire hit the shields. Captain Gray held onto her chair to stay upright. "Shields at 82%, Miller reported from Tactical. "Their weapons are strong, but not as strong as we feared." Sam Wright's communication console lit up with a new signal. "Captain, I think they want to talk. The computer has finally cracked enough of their language." On screen, Gray ordered. The main view screen flickered. A tall alien appeared. Its skin was pale blue with dark spots. It had 4 eyes and no visible nose. When it spoke, its mouth moved in strange ways. "Humans," the alien said, the translation slightly delayed. "I am Supreme Overlord Sktal of the Xarketh Dominion. Your presence in this system is not acceptable." Gray stood tall. "This is our home system. We discovered it first. We've lived here for thousands of years." The alien made a sound like laughter. "We have claimed 100 star systems before yours. None resisted successfully. Its 4 eyes blinked in sequence. You have 1 Earth day to surrender. Give us your planet's resources, and some of your people may live as our servants." The screen went dark before Gray could answer. "Charming fellow," Miller muttered. Dan Peterson, the ship's intelligence officer, rushed onto the bridge with a tablet computer. "Captain, I found something in our databases. The Xarketh have been spotted before, at the edges of explored space. 3 other civilizations reported contact with them before all communications stopped. They destroyed those civilizations?" Gray asked. Peterson nodded grimly. "It seems likely. They take what they want and leave nothing behind." Gray called an emergency meeting in the ship's conference room. Miller, Wright, Murphy, Peterson, and medical officer Lisa Chen gathered around the table. "Options?" Gray asked simply. Miller spoke first. "Fighting is almost suicide. They outnumber us 1,000 to 1. Running means abandoning Earth," Wright said. "They'll reach our planet in 2 weeks." Chen looked worried. "Our medical bay is already dealing with injuries from the first attack. A prolonged battle will mean casualties we can't handle." Murphy leaned forward. "Captain, maybe we can use the QDM." Everyone turned to look at her. "The quantum displacement matrix?" Peterson asked. "But it's never been tested in battle conditions." Murphy nodded. "It's experimental, yes. But if it works, it could give us an edge they won't expect." Gray knew about the QDM. It was the Defiant's secret weapon, designed to bend space-time around the ship. In theory, it could make the Defiant impossible to hit, letting it appear and disappear at will. "Will it work?" Gray asked. Murphy hesitated. "Maybe. The simulations were promising. But using it might destroy us if the field collapses." Gray looked at each face around the table. Earth needed 3 weeks to send help. The aliens would reach Earth in 2. The math was simple and terrible. "If we run, Earth falls," she said. "If we fight conventionally, we lose. The QDM is our only option. It will take 12 hours to bring it fully online," Murphy said. "Then we have 12 hours to prepare," Gray replied. "Miller, work on attack plans. We'll need to hit them where it hurts most. Peterson, find their weaknesses. Chen, prepare the medical bay for casualties. Wright, send a message to Earth. Tell them everything we know." As they left the conference room, Gray grabbed Murphy's arm. "Kate, be honest with me. What are our real chances with the QDM?" Murphy's eyes were tired but determined. "If it works exactly as designed, maybe 1 in 10. If we get lucky, who knows?" Gray nodded. 1 in 10 against certain defeat. I'll take those odds." They returned to the bridge as the alien fleet moved closer. 1 human ship against 1,000 aliens. But humans had always been good at beating the odds. Chief Engineer Murphy wiped sweat from her forehead as she worked on the quantum displacement matrix. The engine room buzzed with activity as engineers checked connections and ran tests. The ship shook from another distant hit. "How much longer?" Captain Gray asked over the comm system. 2 more hours, Murphy replied. "We're pushing as fast as we can." In the science lab, Jack Howard studied the alien ships. As science officer, his job was to understand the enemy. Peterson had sent him all the intelligence data they had gathered. "Captain, I think I found something," Howard called Gray. "The alien ships use energy shields like ours, but their weapons are different. They use standard energy beams that travel through normal spacetime. And that helps us how? Gray asked. If the QDM works as designed, we'll exist partially outside normal spacetime. Howard explained in simple terms. Their weapons might pass right through us without hitting. Gray allowed herself a small smile. That would be helpful. On the bridge, Lieutenant Miller studied attack patterns. The aliens fought in perfect formations, too perfect. Their movements showed no creativity, only mathematical precision. Miller saw an opportunity there. Right. He called to the communications officer. Can you show me examples of how these aliens react when something unexpected happens? Wright pulled up records of the brief skirmishes they'd had so far. See here. When we changed course suddenly, there was a 3-second delay before they adjusted. Miller nodded. They need time to receive new orders. That's a weakness. In the medical bay, Dr. Chen prepared for casualties. She organized for medical staff and checked supplies. If they were going to fight, people would get hurt. 10 hours after the alien ultimatum, Murphy called the bridge. Captain, we're ready for a test of the QDM. It's not at full power yet, but we can do a short jump. Proceed, Gray ordered. Murphy took a deep breath and activated the system. The lights on the Defiant flickered. A strange humming filled the ship. People felt a brief moment of sickness as reality seemed to bend around them. On the main viewer, the stars blurred. Then, suddenly, the Defiant was elsewhere, behind a small group of alien ships. It worked, Murphy shouted. We jumped about half a light minute from our previous position. The system is holding stable. Miller, target those ships, Gray ordered. Let's see if they can detect us. The Defiant fired its weapons. 3 alien ships exploded before any of them could turn to defend themselves. They didn't see us coming, Miller said with surprise in his voice. No evasive maneuvers, no shield strengthening. Murphy, can we jump again? Gray asked. Give us 5 minutes to stabilize the matrix, Murphy replied. The alien fleet was now in chaos. Their perfect formation broke as ships turned in different directions, searching for the Defiant. They're confused, Peterson noted. They can't find us. Howard entered the bridge with excitement in his eyes. Captain, I've analyzed what happened. When we're in QDM mode, we're partially phased out of normal spacetime. Their sensors can't detect us at all until we reappear. So we can hit and run, Gray said, understanding immediately. Jump in, attack, jump out before they can respond. Howard nodded. Exactly, but there's a risk. The QDM puts enormous strain on the ship. Each jump weakens our structural integrity a little more. How many jumps can we make? Gray asked. Howard and Murphy exchanged looks over the comm. Maybe 20, Murphy said. 30 if we're lucky. After that, the ship might tear itself apart. Gray considered this information. They faced 1,000 alien ships. Even if they destroyed 10 enemies per jump, they would need 100 jumps to eliminate the fleet. We don't need to destroy them all, Gray realized aloud. We just need to make them afraid. Miller grinned. Psychological warfare. Hit their commanders. Create confusion. Murphy, how soon until full QDM power? Gray asked. 1 more hour, Murphy answered. Gray nodded. Then we have 1 hour to plan our first real strike. Let's make it count. Around the Defiant, the alien fleet continued to search in vain. They had no idea what was coming. Captain Gray looked at the tactical display one last time. The alien fleet had spread out, trying to find the Defiant. Their largest ships, the command vessels, stayed in the center of the formation. Everyone ready? Gray asked. The bridge crew nodded. They had planned their attack carefully. Peterson had identified the alien command ships by studying their communication patterns. Miller had plotted the perfect attack run. Murphy had the QDM at full power. Begin the operation, Gray ordered. Murphy activated the QDM from engineering. The familiar hum filled the ship, and the stars blurred on the view screen. When they stabilized again, the Defiant was inside the alien formation, directly behind 3 large command ships. "They don't see us yet," Miller reported, firing weapons. The Defiant's laser cannons and missiles hit the first command ship at point-blank range. Without their shields up, the alien vessel exploded immediately. The second ship began to turn, but too late. The Defiant's weapons tore through its hull. The third ship managed to raise shields, but Miller had anticipated this and targeted their shield generators first. Within 30 seconds, all 3 command ships were destroyed. "Jump now," Gray ordered as the surrounding alien ships began to turn toward them. Murphy hit the controls, and the Defiant disappeared just as hundreds of alien weapons fired at their position. The energy beams passed through empty space. The Defiant reappeared 10 light minutes away. "Status?" Gray asked. "QDM holding steady," Murphy reported. "Ship integrity at 94%. We can make the next jump in 3 minutes." "The alien fleet is in complete chaos," Wright said, monitoring their communications. "Their central command is gone. Individual ship captains are arguing about what to do." Miller studied the tactical display with satisfaction. Some of them are firing at shadows. They're shooting at anything that moves. "Good," Gray said. "Let's hit them again before they reorganize." 3 minutes later, the Defiant jumped again. This time they targeted the alien fleet's communication relays. 4 more ships exploded before the Defiant jumped away. The third jump targeted their fuel depot ships. The fourth hit more command vessels. Each time, the Defiant appeared, attacked, and disappeared before the aliens could effectively respond. The alien fleet began firing wildly, hitting their own ships in their panic. After the 6th jump, Murphy's voice came through with concern. "Captain, the QDM is running hotter than expected. Ship integrity down to 82%. How many more jumps can we make?" Gray asked. "Maybe 15 before we risk a catastrophic failure," Murphy replied. Gray knew they had to make each jump count. "Peterson, what's their fleet status?" Peterson studied his screens. "We've destroyed 22 ships directly. They've accidentally destroyed at least 40 of their own in friendly fire, but there are still hundreds more. They're trying something new," Wright warned. "They're sending out small groups in all directions. I think they're trying to catch us when we reappear." Gray thought quickly. They couldn't keep jumping randomly. The aliens would eventually get lucky. "Howard, can we modify the QDM to make smaller, faster jumps?" she asked the science officer. Howard considered this. "Shorter jumps would put less strain on the ship. We could jump more frequently, maybe every 60 seconds instead of 3 minutes. But we have less time to attack," Miller pointed out. "That's what they expect," Gray said with a smile. "So let's do something unexpected. Miller, plot a series of 10 short jumps. But we won't attack during the jumps. We'll just appear and disappear rapidly in different locations." "A distraction?" Peterson asked. Gray nodded. "After the 10th jump, we hit their flagship with everything we've got." The plan worked perfectly. The Defiant made 9 quick jumps, appearing and disappearing without attacking. The alien fleet scattered, chasing ghosts. On the 10th jump, the Defiant appeared right next to the alien flagship, a massive vessel twice the size of any other. "Fire everything," Gray ordered. The surprised flagship had no time to raise shields. The Defiant's weapons ripped through its command center. As the flagship exploded, the Defiant jumped away once more. In just 3 hours of battle, 1 human ship had thrown the entire alien fleet into disarray. The bridge of the U.S. Defiant was filled with smoke. A power conduit had burst during their last jump. Captain Gray wiped soot from her face as she checked on her crew. "Everyone okay?" she asked. Miller nodded from tactical, though he had a cut above his eye. Wright coughed but gave a thumbs up from communications. Peterson was helping another crew member who had fallen. "Murphy, status report," Gray called to engineering. Murphy's voice came through with static. "QDM is overheating, Captain. Ship integrity down to 68%. We need at least 30 minutes before our next jump. We don't have 30 minutes, Miller warned. The aliens are changing their tactics. They've split into smaller groups and are spreading out to cover more space. On the main screen, they could see hundreds of alien ships moving in new patterns. The aliens were learning, adapting to the Defiant's hit-and-run attacks. In the medical bay, Dr. Chen worked without rest. Crew members arrived with burns, cuts, and broken bones. The constant jumping and fighting was taking a toll not just on the ship but on the people inside it. Weapons Specialist Ford, report to the bridge immediately. Gray ordered over the comm. Alicia Ford arrived minutes later. She was one of the best weapons experts in the fleet. I need options, Gray told her. We can't keep jumping forever. Ford studied the tactical display. What if we use our torpedoes differently? Instead of direct hits, we could create a spreading field of explosions. Before she could explain further, the ship rocked violently. Warning alarms blared across the bridge. We've been hit, Miller shouted. They got lucky. One of their patrol groups spotted us. Shields at 42%. Another crew member reported. Multiple hull breaches on decks 5 through 8. Ford was thrown across the bridge as another hit struck the Defiant. She hit the wall hard and didn't move. Medical emergency on the bridge, Gray called. Young officer Eric Adams rushed to Ford's side, checking her pulse. She's alive but unconscious, he reported. Gray made a quick decision. Adams, take Ford's station. You're our weapons specialist now. Adams looked nervous but moved to the weapons console. He had trained under Ford, but had never led an attack himself. Murphy, we need to jump now, Gray ordered. The QDM isn't ready, Murphy warned. If we jump now, we might not be able to jump again. If we don't jump now, there won't be a next time, Gray replied. Murphy activated the QDM despite the warnings. The ship groaned as the system engaged. The stars blurred, and the Defiant escaped just as the alien ships closed in. When they reappeared, they were far from the alien fleet but not safe. Warning lights flashed across every console. Damage report, Gray ordered. QDM at critical levels, Murphy reported. Ship integrity down to 51%. We're losing power on all decks. Life support is on emergency backup. Hull breaches sealed, Peterson added. But we've lost 2 shuttle bays and most of our sensor array. In engineering, Murphy worked frantically to stabilize the QDM. The system was never designed for so many jumps in such a short time. Parts were melting, circuits were frying, and coolant was leaking everywhere. Captain, Wright called from communications. I'm picking up something strange. The alien ships are talking to each other more than before, almost like they're arguing. Gray moved to Wright's station. What are they saying? I can only understand parts of it, Wright admitted. But they seem confused about what we are. Some think we're ghosts or demons. Others think we have many ships, not just one. Gray smiled slightly. They don't understand what they're fighting. Adams looked up from the weapons station. Captain, I have an idea. Ford was working on a way to modify our torpedoes to create a chain reaction. If we can get close to a cluster of their ships, we might be able to take out 20 or 30 at once. Gray considered this. How close would we need to get? Very close, Adams admitted, almost inside their formation. Gray looked around at her tired, injured crew. They had been fighting for 12 hours straight. The ship was falling apart around them, but Earth was still in danger. Murphy, how long until the QDM is operational again? She asked. 2 hours, minimum, Murphy replied. And even then, we might only get one more jump. Then we make it count, Gray decided. Adams, prepare your modified torpedoes. We're going to hit them with everything we have. The 2 hours passed slowly. The Defiant drifted in an empty region of space, running with minimal power to avoid detection. Captain Gray used this time to visit different sections of the ship. She needed to see the damage firsthand and talk to her crew. In engineering, Murphy and her team worked non-stop on the QDM. Parts were replaced, wires reconnected, and cooling systems patched. The room was hot from overworked systems. "Will it work for one more jump?" Gray asked Murphy. Murphy wiped her hands on a dirty cloth. "Maybe. I've bypassed some safety systems. It's dangerous, but it's our only option." In the weapons bay, Adams and his team modified torpedoes according to Ford's designs. They worked carefully, handling explosive materials that could blow up in their faces if they made a mistake. "How's it going?" Gray asked. Adams looked up from his work. "We've modified 15 torpedoes. Each one should create a chain reaction that jumps from ship to ship." In the medical bay, Dr. Chen moved quickly between beds. 28 crew members were injured, 6 seriously. Ford lay unconscious, her head bandaged. "Will she make it?" Gray asked about Ford. Chen nodded. "She's strong. She'll pull through if we do." Back on the bridge, Gray found Science Officer Howard studying new data. He looked excited despite the dire situation. "Captain, I've discovered something," Howard said. "The alien ships share a communication network. It's like a hive mind. That's why they were so coordinated at first and so confused when we cut off their commanders." "How does that help us?" Gray asked. "If we could disrupt their entire network at once, it might paralyze their fleet," Howard explained. Gray called a final meeting with her senior staff. They gathered in the conference room, tired but determined. "We have one jump left," Gray began. "We need to make it count." Howard explained his discovery about the alien communication network. "If we target their central communication hub and broadcast a disruption signal at the right frequency, we could shut down their coordination completely." "Where is this hub?" Miller asked. Peterson pulled up a map on the screen. "Based on their movement patterns and communication signals, I believe it's here." He pointed to a large ship near the center of the alien fleet. "That's deep in their formation," Wright noted. "We'd be surrounded the moment we appeared." Adams spoke up. "My modified torpedoes could clear a path for escape." Murphy shook her head. "The QDM won't have power for another jump. Once we go in, we stay in." The room fell silent as everyone understood what this meant. It was a one-way mission. "There must be another way," Chen said softly. Gray stood up straight. "Howard, how long would it take to disrupt their network?" 30 seconds of continuous broadcast at close range, Howard answered. Gray nodded. "Then we need to survive for 30 seconds. Miller, could we divert all power to shields for that long?" Miller calculated quickly. "If we shut down everything except shields and communications, maybe. But it would be close." "What about after the 30 seconds?" Wright asked. "What happens then?" Howard smiled slightly. "If my theory is correct, their ships will lose all coordination. They might shut down, drift away, or even attack each other in confusion." Gray looked at each person. "I won't order anyone to do this. It's volunteer only." Not a single person moved to leave. They all stayed in their seats, looking at their captain with trust. "Then it's settled," Gray said. "Murphy, prepare the QDM for one final jump. Howard, get your disruption signal ready. Adams, prepare to launch all modified torpedoes on my command. Everyone else, secure your stations." As they left the conference room, Peterson stopped beside Gray. "Captain, I just received the latest scan. The alien fleet has regrouped. All 938 remaining ships are in formation. They're heading directly for Earth." Gray's face hardened. "How long until they reach Earth?" 5 days, Peterson replied. Gray nodded. "Then we have no choice. We launch in 30 minutes. The countdown began for the Defiant's final mission. One last desperate gamble to save Earth. The final minutes before the jump were quiet on the Defiant. Each crew member prepared in their own way. Some wrote messages to family. Others checked their stations one last time. A few simply sat in silence. Captain Gray stood on the bridge looking at the main screen. The alien fleet appeared as hundreds of red dots. Somewhere in that mass of ships was their target, the central communication hub. "All stations report ready," Miller announced. Gray nodded. "Murphy, status of the QDM." Murphy's tired voice came through. "Ready for one final jump, Captain. All safety protocols are disabled. We'll get one big burst of power, then the system will burn out completely." "Howard, is your disruption signal prepared?" Gray asked. Howard nodded from his science station. "Yes, Captain. The signal is set to the exact frequency of their network. 30 seconds of broadcast should create a cascading failure throughout their entire system." Gray took a deep breath. "This is Captain Gray to all crew. In 2 minutes we will make our final jump into the heart of the alien fleet. Our mission is to disrupt their communication network and prevent their attack on Earth. I wish I could promise we'll make it back, but I can't. What I can promise is that our actions today will save billions of lives on Earth. It has been my greatest honor to serve with each of you." Gray out. The ship hummed as power built in the QDM. Lights dimmed as energy was diverted to the experimental system. "All power to the QDM," Gray ordered. "On my mark. Jump." The familiar sensation of reality bending around them felt stronger this time. The ship groaned as the strained QDM pushed it through spacetime one last time. When the stars cleared, the Defiant was surrounded. Alien ships filled every view screen. They were in the very center of the enemy fleet. "Target acquired," Peterson shouted. "Communication hub at 300 meters, bearing 050. Shields at maximum," Miller reported as he diverted all available power. "Broadcasting disruption signal now," Howard announced, activating his program. The effect was immediate. The closest alien ships began to drift. Their weapons powered down as confusion spread through their network. "It's working," Wright exclaimed, monitoring alien communications. "Their network is failing." But the Defiant wasn't safe. Dozens of alien ships still had power and were turning to fire. "Incoming," Miller warned as the first shots hit the Defiant's shields. "Shields at 80%, a crew member reported. 70%, 65%. Gray turned to Adams at the weapons station, launched the modified torpedoes. Adams pressed the launch button. 15 specially modified torpedoes shot out from the Defiant in all directions, each one headed for a cluster of alien ships. "Torpedoes away," Adams reported. 10 seconds to detonation. The alien bombardment continued. The Defiant rocked with each hit. "Shields at 40%, Miller reported. "We're losing them fast." "How much longer on the broadcast?" Gray asked Howard. 15 more seconds required for complete network failure. Howard answered, working to maintain the signal. Another massive hit rocked the ship. Sparks flew from multiple consoles. "Shields at 20%, Miller shouted. "Another hit like that, and we're done." 10 seconds to torpedo detonation. Adams counted down. Gray held onto her chair as the ship shook violently. "Hold on, just a little longer." 5 seconds to torpedo detonation. Adams announced. "Network disruption at 70% completion," Howard reported. 10 more seconds needed. "Shields failing," Miller warned. The first torpedo exploded. A chain reaction spread through a cluster of alien ships. Then the second torpedo hit, and the third. Soon, explosions bloomed across space in all directions. The force pushed alien ships into each other, causing even more damage. Amid the chaos, the Defiant continued broadcasting its disruption signal. The alien ships still capable of firing were now shooting wildly, hitting their own vessels as often as they targeted the Defiant. "Network disruption at 90%, Howard shouted over the noise of failing systems. "Almost there." A massive explosion ripped through the bridge. Smoke filled the air. Emergency lighting kicked in as main power failed. Through the smoke, Captain Gray could see her crew still at their posts, refusing to give up. Network disruption complete, Howard finally announced. Total cascade failure achieved. Around them, the alien fleet fell into complete chaos. Captain Gray opened her eyes slowly. Her head hurt. The bridge was dark, lit only by emergency lights and small fires that crew members were trying to put out. She pulled herself up from the floor where she had fallen. "Status report," she said, her voice hoarse from the smoke. Miller looked up from his damaged console. "Most systems are offline. Shields gone. Weapons gone. Life support running on emergency power." "The alien fleet?" Gray asked. Peterson managed to get a basic sensor reading. "Complete chaos, Captain. Hundreds of ships drifting without power. Others are firing randomly or flying in circles. Some are even attacking each other. And some are running away." Wright added from communications. "They're broadcasting fear. They don't understand what happened to them." Gray felt a moment of pride despite their situation. Howard's plan worked. Murphy's voice came through on a damaged speaker. "Engineering to bridge. The QDM is completely burned out. Hull integrity at 28%. We have multiple breaches across all decks." "Can we move at all?" Gray asked. "Minimal thruster control only," Murphy replied. "We're basically drifting." Dr. Chen called next. "Medical to bridge. We have 43 injured crew members. Three didn't make it." Gray closed her eyes briefly, feeling the weight of those losses. Then she straightened up. "Keep everyone alive." "Doctor, that's an order." For 3 days, the Defiant drifted among the remains of the alien fleet. The crew worked tirelessly to repair what they could. They sealed hull breaches with emergency patches. They rerouted power from non-essential systems to maintain life support. They treated the injured with dwindling medical supplies. The alien ships continued to fight each other or flee. Their once mighty fleet was reduced to scattered groups without coordination. The path to Earth was now blocked by the debris of hundreds of destroyed alien vessels. On the 4th day, Wright picked up a signal. "Captain, I'm receiving a transmission. It's from Earth." Gray moved to the communication station. "Put it through." The voice was broken by static, but clear enough. "List Defiant, this is Admiral Ben Collins of Earth Defense Fleet. Do you read us? We're approaching your position with 6 ships. ETA 2 hours. Wright's hands shook as he replied. "This is the U.S. Defiant. We read you, Admiral. We could use some help." 2 hours later, 6 Earth ships arrived. The sight of them brought tears to many eyes on the Defiant. The rescue ships surrounded the damaged vessel, protecting it as medical teams and repair crews transferred over. Admiral Collins came aboard to meet Captain Gray. He found her in the medical bay, visiting her injured crew members. "Captain Gray," he said, saluting her, "Earth sends its deepest thanks. Our long-range sensors showed everything. 1 ship against 1,000. It's unbelievable." Gray returned the salute. "It wasn't just me, Admiral. Every person on this ship is a hero. They're already telling stories about you back home," Collins said. "How you appeared and disappeared like ghosts. How you tricked an entire alien fleet into destroying itself. That Exarcheth Dominion is in full retreat across the galaxy." 1 week later, the Defiant was towed back to Earth. Thousands of ships escorted it home. Millions of people watched on screens as the damaged ship returned. It was missing large sections of its hull. Its once smooth surface was now scarred and burnt, but its name was still visible on the side. U.S. Defiant. A year later, a memorial was built to honor the 3 crew members who died during the battle. Next to it stood a museum dedicated to the Defiant and its crew. Inside, visitors could see parts of the ship, including the burnt-out QDM that had allowed 1 ship to defeat 1,000. In schools across Earth, children learned about Captain Gray and her crew. They learned how human creativity and courage had overcome impossible odds. They learned that sometimes 1 ship is all you need, if it's crewed by humans who refuse to give up. The Exarcheth never returned to human space. The story of the lone ship that destroyed their fleet spread among the stars. Other alien races heard about the humans, the species that should never be underestimated, no matter how outnumbered they might appear.